My conversation today is with pelvic floor physiotherapist Winnie Wu. Winnie and I are doing a series of chats relating to fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and menopause. In part 1, we talk about what could be a hindrance to a couple falling pregnant and how a women's health physiotherapist can help even before a woman is pregnant. Other topics include possible reasons for painful sexual intercourse, pelvic girdle pain, including pubic, sacro-iliac, and side hip pain, and why this pain is common but not normal. How to exercise during pregnancy, what exactly is the pelvic floor and how to do those exercises properly, perineal massage as a way to prepare for birth, and the various programs and services that Winnie's team can offer to couples at any stage of their journey. I'd encourage you to watch the YouTube version of this episode as Winnie offers a visual explanation of the pelvic organs, bones, and surrounding tissue by the use of her model pelvis. Please reach out to Winnie or myself if you have any questions around the content of this episode. Enjoy. Hi, Winnie. Welcome to the podcast. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Katira. Thanks so much for inviting me. So I'm Winnie, and I'm the director of Papaya Clinic. Papaya Clinic is an integrative women's health clinic in Sydney, and we have pelvic health physios, naturopathy, acupuncturists, and a wide range of services in there for women only. So I'm a pelvic floor physiotherapist, which means that my work is very much related to working with the musculoskeletal system of women, but also the pelvic floor muscle itself and any sort of pelvic floor dysfunctions like incontinence, prolapse, and a wide range of things. I'm also a clinical Pilates instructor, so I also teach women, especially pre and postnatal, on exercises to help them through this transition. I'm a mum of 2. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I am in the inner west of Sydney.
Beautiful. So, busy mum and business owner. Can you tell me how you got into your work? Is there any sort of backstories as to why you did it?
Yes, so I've been a physio for over 10 years, and I think in the early career, I went into it because I was a dancer before. So I went into it wanting to be a dance physiotherapist, and I spent probably half my career doing that, and I still treat dancers. But since becoming a mum, my focus have sort of changed into more about pelvic health. And I think a lot of that is personal experience of how I experienced, pregnancy, labor, postpartum care, and all of that. But also, I do feel like with women's health conditions, you need a collaborative care approach. And I think and the reason why I started Papaya Clinic as an integrative health is also because as a physio treating women's health conditions in a very sort of musculoskeletal environment, I feel sometimes quite limited because we can't address other things like hormonal changes or psychological issues and all of those things. So, which that is the reason why I went into more the integrative side as I continue my career and created Papaya Clinic from there.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way that your philosophy has changed as well. So let's go back to the beginning of when a woman is trying to conceive. She might have fertility issues, or she might not. But what sort of things would you say that she would need to consider at that time?
Yeah, so for women going through that trying period, so regardless of whether they're trying naturally or they are going through IVF or other medium to full pregnant, I think we need to look at whether there is a problem with having sex and intercourse with a partner. Like that is the first thing, right? So if let's say you can't have sex or you're fearful or it creates a lot of pain and anxiety around that, then it will naturally means that you probably have less frequency of intercourse, and then that might hinder the whole process as well. So as a pelvic floor physios, while we don't work in the fertility space, it is more the mechanical side and the physical side to make sure that intercourse is enjoyable. There's no pain. There is no sort of pelvic floor tension that will create other issues down the track. And I think this is a really good time when people do come in for a checkup for a screen of the pelvic floor, in which sometimes we do an internal vaginal examination. We can see and test the pelvic floor muscle tone, performance, and whether it is connected or not to the person. Sometimes we ask people to contract and relax and they can't do it, which then can have other issues down the track. And also in this day and age, I think a lot of people are quite stressed and high pace and like rushing everywhere and things like this. And so we also find like I clinically find a higher incidence of people having overtoned pelvic floor, a tight pelvic floor, in which we need to teach them how to breathe, how to use a diaphragm appropriately. And all of that links to pelvic floor function, which it's crucial when you're actually fall pregnant and you have to go through the labor process and then postpartum recovery too. So it is about that early stage preparation and screening and treating if there are symptoms at that point.
Yeah, thank you so much for that information. I think that sometimes we don't think that a lot of women wouldn't know that could be an issue right from the outset, and that also that could be treated, and they could come and see someone like you and you can help them through that tonicity of their pelvic floor. So it's a really good thing and a good message to get out there, that you can come and see yourself or someone that does the line of work that you do in your preparation for having a baby, even before you conceive. Yeah.
Yes, especially when it comes to pelvic pain, which is about, what I do, especially for women in this phase, is if there is pelvic pain, we do see a lot of misconceptions of people thinking that it's normal,
Mm.
or they might not have talked about it with their friends or family. And there is more social media and more sort of media attention on it these days, especially when it comes to things that are linked to endometriosis, which pelvic pain is a big issue as well for people with endometriosis. So there is more of that attention in media, but it doesn't mean that people are talking about it and seeking help. And we
Mm.
know that like still not a lot of people seek help. And sometimes when they seek help, it might be disregarded as well, depending on who they go to.
That's
So yeah, so we want to make sure that the message is helping pelvic pain and having pain during intercourse is not normal. It is very common, but it's not normal, and that there is something that we can do about it.
Yes, absolutely. So, when a woman gets pregnant, what sort of changes in her musculoskeletal system can she expect? Perhaps you can guide us through the 3 trimesters.
Yeah, okay. So in the first trimester, the baby is tiny, 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 right? So there's not much of an increase in loading in the body. However, people can experience a wide variety of what we call pelvic girdle pain, which I have a model in here. Yeah, so which is pain in a couple of areas in the pelvic in the pelvis region, and it can be pain in the front, which is where the pubic bone is, and you can see like there's cartilage and there's like this soft tissue. So this is a bit where it can move. Yeah, so think about all the joint surfaces where there is like movements in the joints. Sometimes we get pain in there. So pubic bone is one. SIJ, sacro-iliac joint, is the other one at the back. Yeah, again, is to do with that sort of articular surfaces. And then also side hip pain. So there's like the hip, the leg bone in here. So they can get pain in the side hips as well. And those are some very common pain, musculoskeletal pain that we see, which we call it like pelvic girdle pain. A lot of people get some, if they don't get anything during first trimester, that's great. But sometimes because your joints are suddenly softer and more, they're softer and wider, especially with hormonal changes, you get that spike in relaxin between 0 to like 25 weeks. And so after 25 weeks, it plateaus. So it doesn't change as much, but then you've got the baby's weight pushing down on it, right? So in the first trimester, if people do experience that, sometimes that pain does go away quite quickly. Yeah, but it's still good to check in with a physio and just to make sure that you don't keep aggravating it by doing things that you're not supposed to be, okay, and know how to take care of it. In the second trimester, hopefully things are pretty good. Baby's weight is getting bigger and you can see baby coming out and popping up. And what we recommend in here is, to continue with all your physical activity, Don't go and try something new during pregnancy, but definitely think about your physical activity and try to increase that tolerance as well under the guidelines. But the body is changing. I would say like between 20 weeks to 27 weeks, you are changing week by week just because you're adapting to the baby's weight and position. And also, most of the time people are still doing everything that they're doing in life. So they're still running in full pace, they're still working, their lifestyle hasn't really changed too much. So sometimes they do get more tired and fatigued. Yeah. And then go into third trimester, that is when everything starts to get softer. So the connective tissues, your pelvic floor, your joints, your bones, that is so that you can prepare for labor at full term. So yeah, so that is also sometimes when pelvic girdle pain becomes more severe if it's there, and we help the patient manage those pain that comes on.
Yeah, great. That's a really good description of all of those things. I think sometimes women are quite surprised by the pain that they feel in the first trimester, but it's good to know that that's a relaxin hormone and that it can also start to settle down. It just goes a little bit into overdrive at the beginning. But I think there's a lot of women think, why am I in so much pain? I'm not even big yet. But yeah, there's so much at play, isn't there?
Yeah.
So
And another thing is if they are hypermobile or if they have any other things to do with the ligamental laxity or anything like this, like sometimes that will play a bigger role as well.
yes.
So those are all the things to consider. And I think like to make sure you prevent pelvic girdle pain, the best thing you can do is to keep your activity up. Yeah.
Mm,
To be strong, like before you even get into the pregnancy, like to build the muscle mass around your joints and make sure that you like know what is good activity, good biomechanical activities for your body as well.
yes, yeah. But as you said, don't start anything sort of too massive if you haven't done that before. So yeah, the preparation again needs to come before you're pregnant so
Yeah.
that you know what your body's capable of. Yeah. What about in that third trimester when, the load is quite heavy? Is there anything a woman can do to sort of take the weight off the load she's putting on her joints?
Yes, definitely. So I think there are a couple of things that we do in physiotherapy. So if a women come in with pain, and most of the time, as I said, the pelvic girdle pain, and sometimes they also get pain in the front of the belly, which we call like round ligament pain. It's like there's round ligament that goes down from, imagine like belly button all the way down to the groin edge. And so sometimes the weight is just pushing down on those ligaments. So they get that sharp shooting pain around the lower abdominal region when they're moving. Yeah. And what we can do with all of those things is we can add compression to stabilize the pelvic region. Yeah. So something like sacro-iliac belt. Yeah. It's something that we can fit around the women's pelvis and they can take it off and put it on anytime. Sometimes I even recommend that to go to sleep because people can get pain when they're tossing and turning around in bed. So that is a way that we can manage that. We can tape it as well. So physio tape to tape around the back and the region. We can also tape the front to help with lifting the baby up a little. And that's beautiful sensation. It's like something is wrapping around you with the hands and lifting your belly up
Mm,
to reduce that ligamental pain that you get. And I think it's activity modification. We really have to look at, because everyone is different, we need to look at what is contributing to the pain. What is the pain pattern? What are the things that you're doing every single day that your body doesn't like? And then we modify from there.
mm,
Sometimes pain, that pelvic girdle pain in the third trimester, if it gets worse and worse, it can be quite disabling. And
yeah.
our goal is to make sure it doesn't get worse and hopefully gets better. Whether it can completely come down in the third trimester, sometimes not, but we want to make sure it's as smooth and as comfortable as it can be. With the baby's weight pushing down as well.
Yes. Yeah, it can be quite debilitating. So
Mhm.
it's, we don't want women to be walking around like this thinking that this is just part of pregnancy and there's nothing much they can do about it.
I do
So
think definitely to speak to someone.
yeah.
Because I have seen people coming in with like pelvic girdle pain that they're limping
Mm,
and they think that if I go walking, it's going to be a good activity for it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, no, that's going to make things worse.
Yeah.
And even like going to Pilates classes sometimes, like commercial Pilates classes, and it aggravates their pubic bone pain because they were
Mm.
doing a lot of single leg stuff, or like, things that will shear around that joint. So all of these things, I think it's much better if you have pelvic girdle pain during pregnancy, your exercises should be guided to make sure it's safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And you alluded to the pubic symphysis pain there. So, what are some other things a woman can do to stop that shearing and that horrible sensation that they get from the bones moving?
Yeah, so that belt that I mentioned was good for this, and there are different ways to fit the belt to make it more targeted to the front of the
Mhm.
pelvis area. Other things would be making sure that you're not. So basically, with the perisymphysis pain, is to do with that. When you put the weight down and then when you lift off, like weight bearing and lifting. So walking is going to be painful, and some people get pain when they put the foot down. Yeah, and some people get pain when they lift the foot off. So it's so different, right? Some people get pain when they are having too big a stride length. So when they walk too big or they walk too fast. So we want to make sure we modify the walking pace and the gait and the stride so that it's less painful. But other things would be, for example, when you get up from bed or when you get out of the car, you swing both legs together, squeeze the legs to stand up so that you're not loading one side more than the other. It really doesn't like that unilateral one-sided loading. It likes to be even across both legs. So normally that shearing comes because you're loading one side more than the other, or you are overstretching the joint. So for example, if you're going to sit in froggy position to stretch, most likely it doesn't like that. So when you bring the legs back together, you're going to be painful in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's about turning in bed. So they're lying on one side and they want to turn to the other side.
Yeah.
The moment that they turn and they put the foot down to help them to shift the weight, that is when the pain shoots in and it wakes them up. Yeah. So we teach people how to do 4-point kneeling turning. So you go the other way to turn. Yeah. So little tricks and tips like that. It does help to just reduce that really sharp shooting pain.
Yeah. I can almost feel it as you're saying it.
And it's very similar, like front and back is similar, like similar
Mm.
principles,
Mm.
different techniques, but the SIJ pain is equally disabling. Like if some people have it,
Yes.
yeah, they will also come in limping as well sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, I know some women that have had to be bedridden, for a number of weeks towards the end of the pregnancy because of that. So, yeah, it's a real thing and it can be really debilitating. So if a woman is between pregnancies, say it's her second or subsequent pregnancy, can she prepare for that pregnancy as well, or is she sort of all geared up from the first one?
I definitely think in terms of postpartum, so from the first one to the second one, in between, like me personally, my experience between the two kids is that you're busy. Like
Mm.
you're busy, a lot of things are new to you, trying to get everything right as a new mum. Sometimes return to work and do a lot of other things as well. What happens is there's a lifestyle change. And so I would say like more than 50% of the mums that I see in clinic, they actually is less active than what they were before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say the best thing that you can do around this period is keep your activity level up, keep yourself strong, like make yourself stronger than before, because sometimes it takes a while for your body to recover, especially your body is still quite soft and wide. And sometimes it sort of stay that way, like your bones never go back to exactly where it was before. There's impact on the pregnancy, and sometimes your rib cage might change a little bit, your pelvic floor will change. So, in between is really about learning about your new body, strengthening the new body that you have, and sort of being really at peace with who you are in that phase, and then try to do exactly the same thing as what you did before to prepare for the second one.
Mm.
Yeah, and the same between the second and the third one. Time becomes less and less available when you have more and more kids. So it is about carving out that time if you can to do the minimum to get the biggest result, I think.
Yes, yes. Each pregnancy is like a unique one that, yeah, we need to do all the things again if we can. A lot
Mm.
of mums are running around, as you've mentioned as well. is that exercise or is that just putting further load? What would you say are the specific, like even if they could just have 15 minutes a day, what could they do?
Yeah, so running around is not really exercise for me. Like walking is not an exercise in a physio term. It is great to keep yourself up and about, but it's not exercise. Um, if you have 15 minutes and you're in between pregnancies, let's say you have no pain in the body, yeah, and you're healthy and well, I think doing some weight resistance, like either weighted exercise or resistance exercise, are good. So things that will really build muscle bulk will be like strength-based exercise, like using dumbbells or barbells or anything that you have at home to do some very functional exercises like squatting. Even wall squats are good. Hold the baby and do some squats. Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Even lunges or deadlifts, like those really functional pattern exercises are good for the body to just put some load in it.
Okay, good advice. So let's talk about pelvic floor. I mean, we hear that term thrown about a lot. Can you actually explain what is the pelvic floor? Because I think sometimes we just have one idea of what it is, but don't actually really know.
Yes, yes, sure. So I have a model in here. This is the pelvis and your pelvic floor. So there's a pubic bone, and this is the back. Yeah, your sacrum. And your pelvic floor, if you look underneath, is everything that you see sort of from here to here. Your pelvic floor, it's like the bowl of the bottom of the outlet. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's like a hammock and it holds everything up. So it holds your pelvic organs, and your pelvic organs is your bladder, your uterus, and your rectum. Yeah. So when the baby gets bigger and bigger, the baby's is here. Yeah. And underneath, so which is why you can see that it will put load into the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor is basically muscles and connective tissues. Yeah. And it's not just one muscle, it's a group of muscles. So everything that you see in here, this is a superficial pelvic floor. So this layer, and it links down into the anal sphincter as well. You can see that's the perineal body. Yeah. So when baby comes out, it will stretch this pelvic floor wide so that baby can be pushed out. And sometimes it can cause tear into the perineal body. We call this perineal tears. So this is a superficial pelvic floor. And then you also have the deep pelvic floor, which is everything that you see in here. Yeah. And you can see that they connect to the front, to the coccyx, to the side, and it's really close to the glute muscles in the back as well. Yeah, it's just different layers. And all of that is really important when it comes to just normal pelvic floor function, like to prevent incontinence or to have good to prevent incontinence, pelvic organ prolapse, and all of that. The layer of muscles need to be working quite well in order to prevent things happening in later stages in life.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. And if the listeners are listening to this on one of the audio platforms, you won't see that model, but I think it would be useful for you to get that visual. So to go onto YouTube and watch the video that way so that you can see, because it really does bring it much more to life and we can understand better that just the pelvic floor is so much bigger than just the front passage, isn't it?
Yeah.
And preventing our flow of urine. So, given that there's so much more to the pelvic floor, it's the whole sling and the bowl underneath our pelvis. How are we to do our pelvic floor exercises then?
I think a very good way to cue it and an easy way to cue it is can you tighten your vagina and your back passage together? Like that
Mm.
one, 99% of the people can do it. I think they can visualize it. But then once we get that, I do like people to polish that engagement a little bit to be more uh, sophisticated with the
Yes.
engagement. So what we really want to think about is superficial pelvic floor, the layer that is most outside, external. We want that to think about like the eye pupil or like petals of a flower, and you're picking up a blueberry with it. So those are the different cues that we get. So you pick up the blueberry and you can see my hand gesture and then you relax it. That is like the superficial layer. So this layer in here that links
Mhm.
down to your anal sphincter, that's a layer. So if you can think about picking a blueberry with that layer and then let it go, that is that. And then the deep pelvic floor function is to lift. Yeah. So it's really about lifting things up and protecting the pelvic organs. So together, when we talk about pelvic floor connection, that is really, really well performed. I like to see women doing close and then lift and then bring it down and open. And that is really important instead of just doing like a squeeze and then like squeeze everything. Sometimes what happens is people squeeze and they also squeeze the abdominal muscles, the inner thighs, or other muscles, or the glutes sometimes.
Glutes, yeah.
And if people's awareness is not very high around that area, or there's pain conditions and things, and people have switched off from the area, they might not be able to differentiate between what they're squeezing. Yeah, so they will just think, okay, I'm doing my pelvic floor exercise. I'm increasing a lot of pressure in there, in that area. Something must be happening. But when we do our internal vaginal assessment, we're like, okay, you're actually not doing anything in the pelvic floor. You're just doing everything else around it.
Yes.
So
And
we do see that quite often.
yeah, I really have never heard a woman say they love doing their pelvic floor. So I think it's really important to make sure we're doing it properly if we're going to put that effort in, to set ourselves up from the outset. So to go and see a women's health physio to make sure that they are actually activating the right muscles and not activating everything else around it, so that we can get it right. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And this also applies to your abdominal muscles. So your transverse abdominis, which is the deepest layer, versus your obliques.
Yes.
Say that again. Versus your obliques, which sometimes people, especially when they're postpartum and they come back and we do an abdominal assessment with them, we see a lot of bracing. So they will stop breathing, they brace, and that is how they've been doing it for years. And now we're like, oh, this is not the best.
Yeah.
From now on, we need to be able to get your deepest layer of abdominals working and then your more superficial layer to make sure it's a sustainable practice for your abdominal region.
Right, yeah. I think it also goes back to just this busy lifestyle, doesn't it? Like being so busy and in that way kind of disconnecting from our own bodies and not being very aware of, our actual body and how it works and our anatomy and functionality. So it's getting right back to the basics and learning just how to breathe and be able to feel the various parts of our body before we even start yanking it up and down.
Yeah, definitely. And you need to do that, I think, around the pregnancy stage. Like
Yeah.
pregnancy and postpartum is a really good time for us to tune back in and feel for all the changes. It's beautiful. Like you're feeling all the changes. And
Yes.
yes, there might be pain, but then we can also manage that. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
give
And
it that time.
enjoy
Yeah,
our pregnancy. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Okay, so the next one is perineal massage.
Mhm.
Explain what that is, why that's important, and how to do that.
Yeah, so perineal massage, I've got a model in here again. So
Right?
that is how
Yeah.
we teach perineal massage in the clinic as well. And we also teach it to women with their partners being there. Yeah.
Mm.
So normally we have a birth preparation session. So normally we do that around 34 weeks gestation. So women will come in with their partners, and mind you, we most likely would have done a pelvic floor assessment prior to that in the sort of early second trimester. Yeah. Perineal massage is there because if you're going to want to have a vaginal birth, baby's going to come through, your superficial pelvic floor. Yeah. And what happens is sometimes, depending on how you push, baby's size, and a lot of different factors, you can have a tear in the perineal body. Yeah. And the tear goes down that way from the edge of the vagina. And depending on what grading, if it is grade 1 to 2, normally it means that it tears like halfway down. But you can also have grade 3 and 4, which means that it does go all the way down and affect the anal sphincter, and which means it will affect your bowel movements and the control that you have over your bowel in the postpartum period. So for us, it's really trying to reduce the risk of tears.
Mm.
And the three things that really help is one, perineal massage. Second is warm compress to the area during labor, so during the push. And the third is 4-point kneeling. So either on your knees, on your hands, or even just leaning forward and then pushing the baby out that way, where your pelvic outlet is as the widest and the biggest and easier for baby to push out. So perineal massage is important, and we recommend all my first-time moms to do it. From 34 weeks onwards, do it 3 times a week. And every single time it's only like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's not about, how long you do it every single time. I do think frequency matters over the time duration of you doing it. different ways of doing it, but I think the most important thing is if this is a perineal body, you want to make sure that you can massage, like you can hold onto a perineal body and massage sideways, you can go upwards, downwards, but really trying to get this nice and soft. Yeah.
Yeah.
We in clinic, we actually measure the perineal body on
Mm.
valve. So we actually get you to push, and we want to see that things are lengthening as the pregnancy continues so that we can predict sort of risk of perineal tears and also other complications as well. So we actually measure during our assessment. Another thing is, apart from doing these things, is also I teach women how to do internal. So I teach their partner how to do internal to release that layer of superficial pelvic floor muscle in here. Especially if they're a bit tight, I would definitely teach them how to self do it and to feel the tension and to feel what point it is that you want to release. What we want to see is that muscle is being able to stretch sideways and downwards without creating first too much pain, but also second is that it can stretch. Yeah. So even if there's pain, ultimately baby's going to be pushed out. We need to make sure that the muscle length is there, that we can stretch the tissue. So yeah, so that's perineal massage. I've got a video of it actually on YouTube, and it's
Oh,
very detailed
fantastic.
video of the whole massage. And
Yes.
that's what I sent to patients after my session with them. And it's been really helpful for them to recap what to do, why we're doing it. So yeah, I can link it to you as well later.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Should perineal massage, I mean, often it's uncomfortable. Should it really hurt? Does that indicate they're not doing it correctly, or is it just that stretching that area is going to feel, a little bit uncomfortable?
I think different people experience it differently. I do think there is some discomfort sometimes because you are stretching the tissue.
Yes.
Um, However, it shouldn't be painful. Yeah,
I
if
guess the
someone is
breath work.
painful, yeah, I think the thing is when you're doing this, you're also using the occasion to practice all your pain strategies. So pain coping strategies, for example, breathing, yeah, or how to and getting your brain to understand the pain that you're feeling and what other things that you can do to relax and to sort of go through that pain. And this is really important techniques that you need to learn for labor as well, right? So
Yeah.
breathing is some of it. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's distraction. There's so many different things that you can do. Meditation, yeah, there's many things. But I think just breathing alone normally gets people to relax and we can feel the tension let go when they're doing it correctly. So the right type of breathing is very important.
Yeah. I think that's an incredible way to do some birth preparation. It's actually extremely useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, for labour and for second stage
And we
labour.
also say if there's pain, you should be able to, during the session of the perineal massage, reduce the pain. If it's to do with pressure, like I'm pressing into a trigger point, that sort of thing, that sort of tension pressure, that's normal. Yeah,
Yes.
if I'm pressing into your biceps, it's going to be owie, yeah, to a certain extent. But it shouldn't be like sharp scratching, like I have a sharp nail. It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be burning, stinging. If that's the case, you really need to talk to your physio or
Yeah.
talk to your midwife about that sensation.
Yes. Yeah. It's a good way for women to grow confidence in their bodies as well. And again, like just repeating the self awareness and the confidence in what their body is capable of doing. So, absolutely great birth skills to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to cover about pregnancy or what you'd like women to know about how they should or how they can enjoy their pregnancy?
I think as a physio, I would say stay active, like stay involved. Yeah, I think a lot of the times is you can be proactive about the whole journey. You can do your prep work and seek the right guidance as well. So make sure you involve the whole team, like find the team that you want to manage your pregnancy. So it can be your OB, your midwife, it can be your GP. Pelvic floor physio is definitely really good. And think about the support people that you want to have, like postpartum doulas, for example, or sometimes doulas for birth. Anything that will make you feel more at ease and comfortable and that you're supported and informed in that period is good. I think going through it without thinking about the end point
Mm.
It's sort of hard because then you might be quite surprised at what things are. Like, it's all about managing your own expectations as well, but also understand that there's no right or wrong in birth. There's no perfection in birth, and everyone experiences it differently. I can have two people experience the same birth, like physical birth, but they perceive the experience very differently
Yes.
because of the mindset, because of what their expectations are. And I think we deal with a lot of those things afterwards as health professionals. We can hear it when we talk to people about the birth experience. And sometimes hearing those things um, makes me wish that there's things that they understand before going into birth. Yeah, so that they, feel better
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot is about mindset, isn't it?
It's about mindset, and sometimes I also see some patients love to plan out everything, and
Mm.
there's no wrong. Like, I love to plan things, it's great, but you cannot predict birth. It's really hard to predict birth and to try and steer it a certain way. Um, Yeah, because sometimes it is, I do believe sometimes what is medically necessary to do, and sometimes, yeah, baby's life is at stake as well sometimes. So we need to honor that too.
Yes. Yeah. And no right or wrong.
No
Birth,
right or wrong.
it's the baby's birthday. It's the birth. There's a lot we can do, but there's also a lot that we need to just realize is out of our control. And it's a good way to set up for parenting, really, because as we move through parenting, a lot is out of our control. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's everyone has their own personal journey, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Having
your
a birth plan is important though. I
yeah.
think having a birth plan is important. Yeah. It's the expectations around it.
Yes. Yeah, totally agree. Where can our listeners find you and what sort of programs and packages do you have?
Yes. So we're in Sydney Inner West. So we've got the two clinics. We've got Papaya Clinic, which is in Newtown, and Moving Laboratory, which is in Leichhardt. And it's the same team, same women's health team. We just operate in two different locations. We run the Embrace program, which I've got the handout here right now. But the Embrace program, you can go on the website and download the program. It is a very comprehensive program that we put together, and it lists out everything that we do as pelvic floor physios for throughout the whole pregnancy. So at which point we hope that you come to see us, and what are we going to do in each of those assessments and sessions. And that for us is like the minimum checkpoints that we advocate for. Okay. And then also postpartum as well, what to expect at the postpartum recovery, how you're going to recover, and how to engage our help to recover as well. What are some of the things that we use to as a point to discharge you, like some of the physical and pelvic floor benchmarks that we're looking for. But also we do clinical Pilates in here. So clinical Pilates for women throughout the whole pregnancy all the way till labor, so safe for that. And we also run Pilates for high-risk pregnancies. Yeah. And then postpartum, like how to recover from that too. At Papaya Clinic, we also have the naturopaths and acupuncturists, and they do a lot of work with women's energy levels, depletion, or nourishment in terms of nutrition, helping them with that journey as well. So yeah, you can go and look at our website. It's www.papayaclinic.com.au.
Beautiful. That will all be in the show notes. And also you have the mums and bubs classes, so that's something that's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have two types. We have the mums and bubs where you can bring bubs, and that is in Newtown. And it's very busy all the time. And it's very cute with all the bubs and all similar ages. And then we also have the reformer class, which is for mums and no bubs. And that
Right.
is in Leichhardt, and where things are a little bit stronger for mums who are wanting different things as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Winnie. I can really feel such a passion in what you do and also your team, which is just wonderful. And we need more people like you, and also being integrative and realizing that this part of a woman's life is multifaceted and a multidisciplinary approach is needed. So, yeah, I love it. You've given so many helpful tips and advice, and all those details will be available to our listeners. And I also look forward to some follow-up episodes with you, because next time we're going to talk more about postpartum. And I look forward to that as well.
Yes. Thank you so much, Katura. Thanks for inviting me here.
Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it offered something helpful to your own mothering experience. If you are a pregnant woman or know someone who is, head over to my website to receive your free copy of the postpartum checklist and contact list. And if you'd like to be better prepared for your postpartum, both practically and mentally, purchase the Peaceful Postpartum ebook, a 52-page interactive guide on what you need to know and what matters most in postpartum. And so that we can get these conversations out to more mothers, I'd be grateful if you could like, share, and review this podcast, and we'll see you next time.